Good afternoon. On my orders, the United States military has begun strikes against al-Qaeda terrorist training camps and military installations of the Taliban regime in Afghanistan. These carefully targeted actions are designed to disrupt the use of Afghanistan as a terrorist base of operations and to attack the military capability of the Taliban regime. We are joined in this operation by our staunch friend, Great Britain. Other close friends, including Canada, Australia, Germany, and France, have pledged forces as the operation unfolds. More than 40 countries in the Middle East, Africa, Europe, and across Asia have granted air transit or landing rights. Many more have shared intelligence. We are supported by the collective will of the world. More than 2 weeks ago, I gave Taliban leaders a series of clear and specific demands. Close terrorist training camps, hand over leaders of the al-Qaeda network, and return all foreign nationals, including American citizens unjustly detained in your country. None of these demands were met, and now the Taliban will pay a price. By destroying camps and disrupting communications, we will make it more difficult for the terror network to train new recruits and coordinate their evil plans. Initially, the terrorists may burrow deeper into caves and other entrenched hiding places. Our military action is also designed to clear the way for sustained, comprehensive, and relentless operations to drive them out and bring them to justice. At the same time, the oppressed people of Afghanistan will know the generosity of America and our allies. As we strike military targets, we will also drop food, medicine, and supplies to the starving and suffering men and women and children of Afghanistan. The United States of America is a friend to the Afghan people, and we are the friends of almost 1 billion worldwide who practice the Islamic faith. The United States of America is an enemy of those who aid terrorists and of the barbaric criminals who profane a great religion by committing murder in its name. This military action is a part of our campaign against terrorism, another front in a war that has already been joined through diplomacy, intelligence, the freezing of financial assets, and the arrests of known terrorists by law enforcement agents in 38 countries. Given the nature and reach of our enemies, we will win this conflict by the patient accumulation of successes, by meeting a series of challenges with determination and will and purpose. Today we focus on Afghanistan, but the battle is broader. Every nation has a choice to make. In this conflict, there is no neutral ground. If any government sponsors the outlaws and killers of innocents, they have become outlaws and murderers themselves, and they will take that lonely path at their own peril. I'm speaking to you today from the treaty room of the White House, a place where American presidents have worked for peace. We're a peaceful nation. Yet, as we have learned so suddenly and so tragically, there can be no peace in a world of sudden terror. In the face of today's new threat, the only way to pursue peace is to pursue those who threaten it. We did not ask for this mission, but we will fulfill it. The name of today's military operation is Enduring Freedom. We defend not only our precious freedoms, but also the freedom of people everywhere to live and raise their children free from fear. I know many Americans feel fear today, and our government is taking strong precautions. All law enforcement and intelligence agencies are working aggressively around America, around the world, and around the clock. At my request, many governors have activated the National Guard to strengthen airport security. We have called up reserves to reinforce our military capability and strengthen the protection of our homeland. In the months ahead, our patience will be one of our strengths. Patience with the long waits that will result from tighter security. Patience in understanding that it will take time to achieve our goals. Patience in all the sacrifices that may come. Today, those sacrifices are being made by members of our armed forces who now defend us so far from home, and by their proud and worried families. A commander-in-chief sends America's sons and daughters into a battle in a foreign land only after the greatest care and a lot of prayer. We ask a lot of those who wear our uniform. We ask them to leave their loved ones, to travel great distances, to risk injury, even to be prepared to make the ultimate sacrifice of their lives. They are dedicated. They are honorable. They represent the best of our country, and we are grateful. To all the men and women in our military, every sailor, every soldier, every airman, every Coast Guardsman, every Marine, I say this: your mission is defined, your objectives are clear, your goal is just. You have my full confidence, and you will have every tool you need to carry out your duty. I recently received a touching letter that says a lot about the state of America in these difficult times. A letter from a fourth-grade girl with a father in the military. As much as I don't want my dad to fight, she wrote, I'm willing to give him to you. This is a precious gift, the greatest she could give. This young girl knows what America is all about. Since September 11, an entire generation of young Americans has gained new understanding of the value of freedom and its cost in duty and in sacrifice. The battle is now joined on many fronts. We will not waver. We will not tire. We will not falter. And we will not fail. Peace and freedom will prevail. Thank you. May God continue to bless America.
In a speech unimaginable less than a month ago, the President of the United States, George W. Bush, has formally told the country that an attack has been launched on both terrorist camps inside Afghanistan and military installations in that country as well. He provided no specific details of what is being targeted, or at least the specific targets, just the general view of it all. He did indicate that British forces are involved as well. We expect to hear from the British Prime Minister, Tony Blair, momentarily. First, we'll go to Kamal Haider of CNN, who is in Afghanistan. Kamal, if you can hear me, what are you hearing? What are you seeing?
Basically, we are still a little bit far from the city of Jalalabad, but our man in Jalalabad tells us that some time ago, two aircrafts, what are said to be two aircrafts, dropped bombs south of in the southern part of Jalalabad city, and that anti-aircraft fire was heard from the ground AAA batteries, and the electricity supply is still in place. However, a little while ago, we lost Radio Shariat, the official Taliban radio service. We do not know whether it has been destroyed or they have shut them off for security reasons.
The person you talked to, Kamal, said that he or she was sure that they dropped bombs? Or was he just, was he speaking literally there, or just talking about large explosions?
No, he said that they heard two aircrafts and that the aircraft dropped bombs in the southern part of the city.
Okay. What else are you picking up? Anything?
No, nothing yet.
Okay.
We're still waiting for more news coming out of Jalalabad.
Got it. To General Clark, if I can, quickly. General, does it make sense that we are hearing reports that bombs have been dropped, or do you think that might not be, in fact, correct?
It is possible that bombs were dropped. It's probably a combination of cruise missiles and manned aircraft. In general, we'd like to send the cruise missiles in first to go after the air defense and make sure there's no problem. We'd like to follow that with aircraft that are pretty stealthy, so that any radar left doesn't pick them up. It could have been either one.
These would be high-flying aircraft, and the object here is to make sure that the U.S. and British forces, and we don't know which are involved in which part of this attack at this point, are safe. The higher they are, the safer they are. Fair?
Exactly. I mean, the aircraft would come in at high altitudes. They've got precision guided munitions. They'll hit right on the target.
And again, we might mention something you mentioned just before the President. This being Afghanistan is not the most sophisticated anti-aircraft system on the planet, far from it.
Exactly.
Which will make the going a little bit easier, but again, and as the President indicated, the going is not going to be easy. General Clark, we'll get back to you. The President used the word patience many, many times in his brief talk, a talk of about 8 or 9 minutes, 7 or 8 minutes, I guess. He said, called on the American people to be patient. This is going to take a while, he said. We start in Afghanistan, but certainly he did not indicate that's where we'll end.
The President of the United States speaking to the nation from the treaty room, pointing out that our sons and daughters are now in combat, also saying that the battle is broader. He made the point that right now the airstrikes, what will later be food drops, and the President outlined that, is concentrated in, over, and through Afghanistan. But the President seemed to make a point of saying the battle is broader. That's a direct quote. The inference of that is to other countries and other places that are harboring terrorists. In effect, the President is saying, if you want some of this, just keep on doing what you're doing. That's not what he said, but what's the inference of what he said. We go to the Defense Department and David Martin.
Dan, I thought the President gave a very clear indication of what lies ahead here in Afghanistan. He said that this first phase of attacks, which are going on now in Afghanistan, are intended, and these were his words, to clear the way for sustained and relentless operations. That, to me, suggests that after, as other people have said, after the airstrikes take out the eyes and ears of the Taliban military, then we are going to start ground operations inside Afghanistan. I don't think we're talking about anything that could remotely be called an invasion. I think we're talking about hit-and-run raids because, as the President said, no matter how accurate your weapon, these terrorists have dug caves that go back miles into some of the mountains in this very, very difficult terrain, and you cannot count on getting them all with a bomb. Besides, the U.S. intelligence very much wants to know what's inside those caves because they have received reports over the years that Osama bin Laden is working on biological weapons, that he's working on chemical weapons, that he's even obtained some nuclear material that he could blow up as a sort of a dirty nuclear bomb. That's the kind of stuff the U.S. needs to know, and needs to know whether it's accurate or not. And that's the kind of stuff you're not going to find out by dropping bombs. That's the kind of stuff you're only going to find out by putting troops on the ground, going back in those caves, which you can count on being booby-trapped, finding out what's in there, and then hopefully getting out as quickly as possible. As one official put it to me a couple of days ago, put boots on the ground, do the job, get out.
David Martin at the Pentagon. You may want to have in mind that a Soviet general, after retreating from Afghanistan, when asked what it was like in there, said lice, dust, and blood. Bullet in the U.S. airstrike hits the defense ministry in Kabul. Damage is reported to be heavy around Kandahar in the southern part of the country. President Bush has said that the United States was joined by Britain in the making of the attacks. And the President said about the mission, which is a continuation of the new, one can only call it World War, quote, "We will not tire, we will not falter, we will not fail."
President George W. Bush, in his capacity as President of the United States, also as Commander-in-Chief, updating this nation on the military action that is now underway, designed to disrupt the communication facilities of the Taliban and to destroy the training camps. We're also getting word that the air base in Kandahar, which is in the southern part of Afghanistan, it's a command base, that is the headquarters of the Taliban officially, that too has been destroyed. The President making several points, saying that we are joined in this military operation specifically by Great Britain. Of course, the Prime Minister of Britain, Tony Blair, has been an exceptional friend of the United States during all of this, an ambassador to Pakistan. He has spoken out very strongly on several occasions, and we do expect to hear from him before too long as well. The President then talked about the food and emergency supplies and medicine that would be dropped to the beleaguered other people in Afghanistan, reaching out, as he has for the last 10 days or so, to the Islamic people who are not yet committed to the radical view that Osama bin Laden has so vigorously embraced. And he talked about the fear in this country. So many Americans worrying about another attack of some kind, especially now that American military action has begun. He talked about the many steps that the administration is taking on that front. NBC's Jim Miklashevsky is at the Pentagon now. Jim, what's the assessment so far of the strikes up to this point?
Well, according to U.S. military officials, so far so good. It appears that the early strikes have hit their intended targets. It's impossible to tell exactly how precise everything was, Tom, until they get later bomb damage assessment. But we're getting a little more detail now on what the U.S. military strikes were aimed at first. Most critically, command and control, from which the Taliban would direct any kind of military response, especially air defenses against the U.S. Early targets also included air defense system and power grids. We were hearing reports from the area that Kabul went dark. That's because the electrical systems there were targeted in those first strikes. And in terms of weapons, Tom, that were used initially, we're told that the first wave of strikes were conducted with unmanned Tomahawk missiles, therefore ensuring the safety of any U.S. pilots that would come in later. Subsequent waves will include such weaponry as the B-52 long-range bombers that have been pre-positioned in Diego Garcia, and B-2 bombers, which took off earlier today from their base at Whiteman in Missouri. It's about an estimated 12 to 15-hour trip over to that region, a little less. And once they drop their weaponry for today, they too will be repositioned in the region for subsequent strikes that will follow in the days ahead. Also, the president, it was interesting, Tom, that he would lead his speech by listing all the allies that are involved. First of all, Great Britain involved in the strikes today, Canada, Australia, France ready to join in subsequent strikes. One of the objectives of the administration in the past week or so is to drive home the point that this is not the U.S. against any particular country or against the Islamic religion, but it's the U.S. and a broad coalition of countries against terrorism in general. And Tom, you just mentioned ago, fears at home. While these strikes are underway today, there are a number of sporting events across the United States, including football, and the U.S. Air Force is flying protective air cover, combat air patrol over major sporting events in the United States today. Tom?
All right, thank you very much, NBC's Jim Miklashevsky. That, of course, is the stark reality of the world in which we live now, that in American sporting events, wherever large crowds are gathered, as a precaution, we have a so-called CAP mission in which they have combat air patrols overhead to keep an eye out for security as well.
They're speaking from the treaty room of the White House. George W. Bush, as his father did 10 years ago, has now committed American forces to the field of battle in the Middle East. The president has outlined a campaign that he said would require a patient accumulation of successes. He said the first round of hostilities are directed at the Taliban government in Afghanistan, which he said had received repeated warnings and had not responded. In fact, earlier today, a Taliban ambassador to Pakistan had offered that the Taliban might offer a trial of Osama bin Laden, but only if the United States came to the Taliban with evidence and only if the West would permit the trial to take place within Afghanistan. That clearly is not going to happen. The president said that a broad assortment of allies were involved in this first series of strikes. He also repeated something that was very important, the central point of the speech he gave to the nation on September 20th. He reiterated his belief and assertion that anybody who does not join the United States in the fight against terror will in fact be considered an enemy on the other side. He said they will take that lonely path at their own peril. Once again, the name of this operation is Enduring Freedom. The president has committed troops to Afghanistan. Within the last hour, we've seen a series of explosions in the capital city of Kabul. We're also told that Kandahar, a large city within Afghanistan, which originally was the home of the Taliban, has been the subject of strikes as well. The president has described the enemies, the terror network, as barbaric criminals who have profaned their religion, and once again he is calling on an international coalition for what promises to be a very long fight. The other interesting footnote to this is that while bombing is going on in the nighttime, we have been led to believe that during the daytime, the United States will be dropping food and supplies to the Afghan people. This is a war not only being waged on different fronts, but against different people. And to reiterate what the president said the other day, he says, we're not fighting the Afghan people, we're not fighting Islam, we are fighting the terror network. And today that fight has begun. In Washington, I'm Tony Snow. And now we continue Fox News Channel's coverage of the war on terror. For more on the strikes that have been taking place today, we return to the Pentagon, where David Schuster is standing by. David?
Tony, some more information about the types of U.S. forces that are involved in these attacks. F-14s, F-18s, fighter bombers from the aircraft carriers USS Carl Vinson and the USS Enterprise. Those have been dropping GPS-guided bombs. These are precision-guided bombs that are being dropped on urban targets such as Kabul and Kandahar. We're told that some Tomahawk missiles from the aircraft carrier battle groups, important to remember the aircraft carriers have 11 or 12 ships with them, cruise missiles, lots of cruise missiles are being told are being sent towards Taliban headquarters throughout Afghanistan. There are also some areas where the Taliban forces have been digging in, and we're being told that B-52 bombers and B-1 bombers based at Diego Garcia in the Indian Ocean, those have been dropping very heavy weapons on the Taliban forces that are digging in. We're also being told that bombs, heavy loads of bombs are being dropped on the Al-Qaeda terrorist camps throughout Afghanistan, so not just being dropped on the Taliban headquarters. Another thing to point out, Tony, is that the Pentagon says that it has a number of very clear targets going into this thing that might be able to be leveled and essentially level the playing field for the Northern Alliance, which the Bush administration has sought to strengthen as far as the civil war in Afghanistan. 10 to 15 fixed-wing aircraft, 15 helicopters, 150 to 200 Taliban tanks, all under the control of the Taliban. Those, we are told, are also being hit this evening. And as far as the humanitarian drops that will happen during daytime, the Pentagon has identified 3 very clear areas where there are hundreds of thousands of refugees. This would be in the southwest part of Afghanistan near Herat, the southeast near Kabul. There's an arc of about 1 million refugees. Well, the Pentagon's not going to go into the details as far as exactly where the humanitarian flights are going to be going during the daytime, but they are pointing out that it will be extensive. So again, just to reiterate, the types of forces being used, we're being told a very heavy bombardment of cruise missiles from the aircraft carrier battle groups USS Carl Vinson and the USS Enterprise, which are in the Arabian Sea just south of Pakistan. We're also being told that F-14s and F-18s from those carriers dropping guided bombs in some of the urban targets, and that cruise missiles slamming into some more of the solid targets, such as the Taliban headquarters. We're also now being told, Tony, and just to update everybody, that we're going to be having a briefing here at the Pentagon in a half an hour, and the Secretary of Defense, Donald Rumsfeld, will be leading that briefing. So a briefing by the Secretary of Defense now in a half an hour, as well as the Chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, Richard Myers, is the newly installed Chairman, Air Force General. He will be at that briefing as well. Tony?